start earlier, wait till 4.
Oh, yeah, wait till 4. Yeah, I booked myself a little tight today. Are we going?
We are live streaming already, so.
So watch your language, lady.
You know me, it's really racy.
Get ready for the meeting.
There was an anticipation, so don't worry. It was to address the current.
What? Oh. Alright, then do like, oh, what meetings are here? Oh, Chris is there? Oh.
Getting ready.
We're on recording, we're live already, so.
Wonderful.
I feel like
Longest 2 minutes.
New Year's Eve.
I know,
Forever.
I should do a quick drop down.
Just on Christmas, we walked in, I came from downtown and the temperature downtown is 72 degrees. Cold and foggy,
That's incredible, right?
and then you
What's it
drive
like
up
now?
here, oh, it's really warm.
Oh, it's pretty, it's nice, but I mean,
It's gotta be
I
close to
like
90.
that's nice.
Real feel
Yeah.
100.
It's like
I don't
you said,
mind sweating.
99.
Yeah, it's yummy. Alright, it is 4 o'clock, let's jump in. Okay, this is the Communication Committee meeting on Thursday, July 27th. This is the Board of Education Communications Committee meeting. It is a live broadcast, will be streamed on the school district YouTube page. We are being held this meeting in the Village Hall Upper Level Conference Room, 334445 at W156 and 8480 Pilgrim Road, Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. Amy, was this meeting properly posted?
Yep.
Thank you. Alright, next item is to move to minutes approval.
A motion to approve minutes.
I'll second.
Thank you. Alright, any changes?
I didn't see any.
Alright, I just had one misspelling of my name.
Oh.
In discussion 4.
Okay.
Under communication policy, it was just a missing L, no big deal.
Thanks, Shelley.
Alright, so, did you get the motion in the second? Okay, perfect. There. Alright, year at a glance calendar, do you want to take us through that?
Awesome, alright, and again, you guys have access to that, that's my working document with everything on it, so at any time you wanna take a peek at that, that's certainly available to you. If you have a question, give me a call. Last month's focus was on obviously the superintendent announcement. We created a 100-day engagement plan that I've used before in welcoming other superintendents to the community and the district, and that's been a great tool that we've worked with David on. Which we're, and we're gonna discuss that later. We started, as part of that, we started a social media engagement visibility campaign, so David loves that I am asking him to take pictures everywhere he goes.
I have another one.
Yeah, he's
I
very
do like them on the social media.
safe.
I get to see who you're meeting with.
Yeah.
I just met a great teacher who actually knows my brother, one of my
Nice.
brothers,
Okay,
so that was really fun. So I got a picture with him.
perfect. He's learned airdrop, he's getting good at airdrop.
I've always known how to do air.
Okay.
Correction.
Okay,
Be clear.
okay.
This is live and recorded, Amy.
Why should we do it both?
Superintendent blast,
Yeah.
blast stuff, right?
So also last month, we did, after we decided we were just moving ahead without paying for the website, so we worked to map out all of the website updates on the district and the school sites. So that was last month. Some of the obvious updates were made last month. Updated the editorial calendar for 23-24, school newsletter templates, Ben Franklin principal announcement, and back to school fair planning. So that was last month. So this month, the focus is on website updates, amping up content on social and web for back to school, including the online data verification, which starts on Monday. Engagement posts on social that will continue to feature David throughout the whole first semester for sure, really heavy on that. That's gonna remain a priority. Social media cover photos were updated and branded for 23-24. Finishing up the handbook this week, back to school fair planning, we just met, we had a really good meeting there. Which is August 16th and 17th. Also start doing work on opening and service planning and training for web and social media leaders at each site. And I think we covered this when we were talking about the communication plan. There's a web and a social media coordinator at every school. So, and that's a stipend position, so I work really closely with them because they can do the website updates. Obviously, it all has to be consistent with what, district website, but so I'm working with them as well. So that was it.
Question on that. For summer, since people are dismissed, do you take care of them, all of the other school pages? Or do those folks still rally during the summer?
Right, during the summer, I'll do it if it needs to be done, I'll just do it,
Okay.
because a lot of them, well, actually, most of them are 12 months, but
Okay.
if it's connected to a district messaging, I'll just go ahead and do it.
Okay.
And get it done, so it's something that they have to do. Like the back to school site, there's a back to school page on each school's website, but they also all funnel back to the district site, so they all have to be consistent on across the board. So that's that. Website updates, following the site, the past 2 weeks have been really great once we got the superintendent launched. So I've been able to go, we've got new photos, new content, we updated the navigation. We removed our story and turned it into About Us, and we listed, there was so much that was out of whack in navigation wise. So removed a lot of the old content, stuff that wasn't relevant. We found a lot of pages that were dead, that nothing was on. So I think we're about 70% through the district site, and
That's
currently.
impressive.
Yeah, given the time, it was
Yeah.
finally nice to be able to actually work on those things, so like old videos are gone, a lot of the things that were relevant. So that's been updated, I'm pretty pleased at how it's going. And then I'm working with division leaders and schools to update their pages and make sure North's, I met with them last week. So those updates will start probably kicking in on Monday, so we're gonna change some of the top navigation on there. We redid parents page, it's cleaner, it just feels better. I think a lot of that is just, it's just, take a look, let me know. Yeah, obviously, like the website is something that you continue to update throughout the year. So things are that's never gonna be completely done, so. So I'm hoping that we are at least at 90% of all the updates by, first day of school, so. Also meeting with school webmasters to review the update on their sites as well before the school starts. As far as social media, traffic across all of our platforms is really up, obviously because of our announcement. On all of our social media posts where David is with somebody, we have an engagement of about 800. So that's good, and shares are up, and I know you guys are all sharing those, it's really cool, and people are commenting, so it's going
Yeah, I had a
really
nice
well.
family here yesterday, and the nice thing is that she had 3 kids coming into the district. I saw them signing up, we had a good conversation, and she says, "I know you." And I go, "Oh, do we? I'm sorry." And she goes, "No, I saw you on one of those pictures shining up." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, good." And they're new to the district, and we had a good conversation.
Yeah,
Introduced you to them,
Yeah.
and
try to get the picture.
it's been really good, yeah. They had just come in from somewhere, so it was a thing. But it's been a lot of fun, and I enjoy it. I enjoy meeting people, talking to people, and as recently as right when you walked in here for this meeting. So we were just finishing up with some more teacher engagement, which is a lot of fun.
So yeah. And then social media engagement will stay high, I think, obviously we got back to school and we've got a back to school fair and Island, the data verification, everything is just gonna kind of just grow like crazy. So that is the editorial, and then do you want me to jump down next to the 100-day plan? maybe?
Before you move to that,
Yes,
specifically, wearing my parent hat for a moment,
Yes.
and change management.
yes,
Back to school fair, it's a pretty significant change this year, how we're doing all schools at the high school.
Mhm.
Are we publishing that a ton? Because even I as a parent have been truly ingrained and I
Yep.
go to my kid's school And so when I was looking online, just, and didn't spend a ton of time, I was
Right.
like, there's something in the back of me that's telling me we're changing.
Yep.
And we're centralizing, so to the extent that can't probably over communicate that enough.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
Yeah, and that's why we started communicating it right at the end of the school year. And so we did it there, it's been on the website there, and then today, or either today or tomorrow morning, a blast will go out to all families about just back to school fair and then online data verification. So, because ideally, we want everybody that comes to the back to school fair to be finished with the data verification so that they can come and we're hoping that it's gonna be a good experience, that everybody's one-stop shop, we've got the resource fair, we get your photos, so we're hoping it's a decent experience. We'll survey afterwards
Sure.
and see if it worked.
how do people then, because I know in some instances, specifically probably north, some people came and registered and then went to their lockers and then like dropped off supplies. So is there does North have a plan to be able to say, hey, we've got open house so people can come walk schedules and drop off supplies and such?
Yep, and when we
Okay.
talked to principals about it, when we presented the idea to them, that was, this is your, get your these photos and forms dropped off, and then you can host your event that's just, your own, and you can drop off your school supplies and get your teachers, or whatever you normally do, so.
Okay.
So they don't have it the same night though, it's not simultaneous.
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
That would be too much.
It'll
That
be
would be
closer
a
to
lot,
back
yeah.
to school day.
Yeah.
It's usually when the
They have
teachers
all
come
their
back.
supplies
Well, they
to bring in.
And they probably stagger it too, like based on, or maybe it is the same night, but stagger times,
Sure.
because all the schools and different days and
Yeah.
different schools, obviously.
Yeah,
And part of it is if you're cramming into 2 days and there's parents that have multiple schools,
Yeah.
trying to figure that all out. So
That's a
the
struggle.
fact that it's the forms and I can bring all of my kids
Yeah,
and don't have to
exactly.
go 4 open houses will be nice.
that's good.
And then the benefit of, okay, if I obviously don't have to work schedules for people in elementary school, but for middle school and high school, then I've got that figured out.
Well,
So the plan is to kind of like give that outline and walk people through like, hey, jump online, do your data verification, then
Yep.
show up to this, and
Yep.
then look for your school's open house
Yep.
situation, and then people kind of know what to look for.
Yeah, and we'll include, and I usually do in the years before too, like if we know all of the dates of the open houses.
Yeah, that's nice.
We'll definitely, because the district newsletter will kick in a couple of weeks.
That's
So,
nice for
Yeah.
for them to have that one, with everything,
Yeah.
one-stop shopping there.
And then
Wouldn't know.
there's also a physical flyer that's going out early August too, promoting that,
Okay,
with a mailer,
yeah,
Yeah, so all of that will be, I'm hoping it's a lot of work, so I'm hoping it's really good.
As I said, part of it is I want people just to not get confused and be looking for old when here
Correct.
all the emphasis is gonna put on news, but it sounds like we're gonna get just embarked with a bunch
Yeah,
of
we'll do the pop-up.
communication here in the next couple weeks, so
Yep,
it'll be
hang on,
perfect.
yeah.
We're safe for 2 days.
We did think of going door to door, but that might be too much, so I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah, anyway, yeah, so thanks for that, Jill.
Perfect.
Okay,
Oh, and then I just have a couple more questions.
Yes.
So we have the goal to update the handbook by July 15th, and you said it should be done by Monday?
it should be done probably tomorrow, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And then, were we able, I know we talked about adding like an opt-out portion, in that orientation, or was that online?
That was the parent handbook versus, is this the student handbooks or parent
This is
handbooks?
Parent handbook?
Correct, so there were 3 pieces that we were looking to have added there, it was the being able to help parents in each handbook be able to allow their students to opt out of library material, be able to access Chromebook activities for reports.
Yep.
And I can't remember what the third one was.
And then there was like, opt-out for surveys or,
Oh yeah, that as well.
but that I guess falls underneath that information of, that's all going in the parent handbook. And then is that online too?
Yep, it's online and I'll double check to make sure, because it's a
Version.
live handbook, yep,
Okay,
Yep.
sounds good.
yep, I think there's only just a couple pieces that need to finish on that, and we had all the directors put in all their stuff, and so it's me just maybe going in and making those
And the premise here is, just for background, is as topics have come up to the school board and we review policies, a lot of times it's, hey, this is available to parents to be able to make a choice to opt out or participate in.
Yep.
But then they would have to navigate through our policies, find it, and I had made the suggestion, to Dr. Hayden of being able to say, can we just bake the short, quick links into the handbooks so that folks don't have to go search a policy manual, and when they look at the handbooks, they see how to opt out, how to opt in, what they need to do on library material, Chromebook reports, et cetera, so it's easy in one spot.
I know Amy and I actually were talking about opt-out this morning a little bit, we had a good discussion, a related discussion about opt-out and that it should be kind of universally available, like readily available. Because everybody comes at the world and education a little bit differently. Everybody looks at certain books a little bit differently and you know, and I think, right, Amy, we had a really good.
We did, it was a great discussion, we were talking specifically to books, but
Yeah.
just a reminder of parents always have that right to opt out.
Yeah.
And we will work with individual situations.
Yes.
Was dress code also part of that?
Not in my.
I'm looking back at my notes and dress code looked like it was one of the options.
Not even
Really?
in my reasons.
Okay.
Opt out of dress code?
No, one of the things to put in the to make sure it's in the handbook.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I bet, so it was like, it was
Side
library
note.
books, dress code, I just was trying to
Dress
look back at
code,
some of my
like
notes.
notification or?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
That actually sounds familiar to me, I don't think it was.
I'm looking just back in my notes from.
Okay,
Goodness.
while you're looking, what about Lightspeed?
They have different dress codes.
Lightspeed,
the
Gonna be
elementary.
at the orientation?
At the.
We had talked about that, or the back to school,
Okay,
not orientation, you
The
know.
fair.
The fair, yeah. Forgot
The
word,
forms, the
verbiage.
pictures.
But like, yeah, like a table, so it's more out there that, you know, parents are aware.
Okay.
And I remember we talked about that, it would be helpful for just, you know, more engagement, more
Research for the
engagement,
Chromebook,
yeah.
to be able to show people, here's where you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a
Good idea.
quick sign up, they could even maybe possibly do it there.
yeah, and we do have that in the handbook, like
Okay.
speed, library materials, parent requests for specific book restrictions, public complaints about educational library materials. That is currently in our
Beautiful.
But you said one other survey, opt out for surveys.
I think we put the surveys on pause, so I
Did
don't
we?
know. I
Okay.
think we're okay for this year,
Okay.
but we'll, if we
Yeah.
decide to like pick some of them back up, I think we can talk about that.
Okay.
So sounds good.
I don't believe we're
I had
getting a
just had
survey
that on
that
my
was
list.
like probably
That's what I recall.
triggering that
Wanted to be sure.
concern or question.
Alright, so
You
that
mean
one's
like
on
the
hold.
YRBS survey?
Correct.
Yeah.
You don't mean like our student engagement
Wellness, our
survey?
student wellness, just the it's the wider
Yeah, it's
yes.
the YRBS.
And that's a
The triggering one.
pause, so.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I had written down in
Yeah,
there.
their student engagement survey, parents would still opt out, but
But they were good about,
Yeah.
last year, it was good, it was really
Okay.
good.
yeah, it's
Shared
a,
the questions, like,
Mhm.
it's pretty generic, but
Yeah.
at least everybody had notification.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Alright, anything else on everything that Amy, that's a lot of little stuff, nice work, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
appreciate
It's
it.
a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot.
Alright,
Such a good survey.
and I'm excited to go spend some time on the website, so thank you. I did notice a
Yeah.
little bit when I was out on the board page and looking at some of the district stuff, you could see that a lot of stuff and like the unnecessary is kind of gone, so.
Yeah, well, and
But I didn't get very far to be able to do some navigating, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've talked back and forth quite a bit, and there seems to be some dedicated work being put in, especially this summer. You know, targeted, dedicated work to make some changes. That does take a lot of time, and there's some dead links out there. So they've done a good amount of work already.
Good.
But with a little bit to go, but
yeah, good, right, yeah.
made a good stride.
Well, part of it's a matter of being able to know what you're having your impact on and get rid of the stuff that's not
Right, yeah,
part of our story, so.
sure, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely.
Alright, next item up is review the 100-day plan for superintendent engagement. How's it going?
Going really well. And actually one of the things that I can see a lot of the cabinet doing in the background is a document that'll be coming this week for the first time, just in a weekly communication to the board. What a board connects, so you kind of understand what's going on from our perspective. But in terms of community engagement, it's week to week, you'll see it in Board Connect, but we'll start formalizing a document that I already showed in my onboarding. So
Okay.
that document will be brought in with some more specifics, but some of the contacts, the YMCA contact yesterday was wonderful, not just from a wellness perspective, but also I was there for some of their kids programming that they do in the summer. They were able to show me around with that, but also their connection to the community. So, you know, I do have some follow-up to do with that. with CNI and with some of their swim people. So it was excellent that way. Other contacts, Mercure,
Mhm.
is that right?
Yep,
Mr.
yep, this
Mercure.
morning we did
So-
Focus on the Falls introduction.
So there was a little spot this morning. We had a really good back and forth. We'll see how it actually lays down when it gets out there.
I think it'll be great.
Yeah, but we had a really good discourse this morning. Other groups, some church groups have invited me in, and I've, stopped in and talked to the ones that have invited me in. It's been very active. It's been very active in terms of organizations and meeting with different subgroups. On Monday, I believe, I'm meeting with the state senator, is that correct? So we had some elected officials coming in on Monday. So it's been very active day to day, to the point where I'm extremely thankful for Kim being a better scheduler than me, because I tend to schedule myself a little too tight. Sometimes.
Yeah, like our
Very
meeting turned out to be
zealous.
2 hours. I didn't have my phone that day and I'm like, I
Right.
looked on when I got
Right.
home, I'm like, wait
So
a minute in the car.
whether it's meeting with board members or as I looked through, I was just looking through the calendar just to remind myself week to week. The principal joiner, that was a really good conversation. Different benefits conversations have been really good. And honestly, the elementary school tours, we tend to get really, Chris is great, and he's going on vacation, so I still have 2 elementary schools to go because we spend
Yeah.
so much time talking to custodians and looking at, I wanna see different parts of different buildings, so we were doing that was pretty heavy before the YMCA on Wednesday. Some really healthy conversations internally and externally with respect to school safety. So there'll be more to come on that, alright, and that's okay to put that as a ... because I'll be meeting with the chief of police again next week. And all the school resource officers next week, Thursday, I believe, to follow up and to start bringing some of that initial work to fruition. But we'll make sure to be communicating that broadly once some things start to develop, but very positive, some good conversations initially.
Isn't it clear there's a passion for that team, for the pride they take in our buildings and our land? It's uncanny. I remember when we took our
Yeah.
tours, it was the sense of ownership and the pride they take in the environments that they are responsible for is impressive. We're
And
very
some of the
fortunate.
nicknames were really fun,
Yeah.
especially at the high school. No, use Big Country, please. I'm like, you sure? I'm like, okay, Big Country, and there's some
Oh,
others
the,
that,
yeah, I know.
And they were introducing me around, and then I was actually at Chris's spot, the district facility, which used to be a village facility that the district. So I was walking through meeting his crew as well, and remember talking to that younger guy, his name is Ricky. He's one of the newest ones on the crew, and he's full-time, and they know what they're gonna be giving him, but they haven't told him yet for like the winter. So they're just having a lot of fun, but doing some great work.
Good.
In terms of, they have a plan, so we talked about snow and snow removal and, things that are in the future, so.
Good.
Nope.
In terms of my engagement plan, it's not just external, but it's also internal. Like today with teachers, there was a dozen and a half today and previously as well. Actually all staff, so it's been very good. Like one of them knew my brother, which is really cool, and the other one, she had talked about the college she went to, and I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I played them in football. It was Albion, right? To know, and she says, you know where Albion is? I says, yeah, I played them at football and lost. Of course I know where Albion is. So it's Division III school in Michigan, but so it was a good conversation with a chemistry teacher from the high school who was just here when you came in.
Excellent.
And she had stepped out. And then band, really great conversation with the band teacher at the middle school.
Good,
And she was happy to know that I was a band guy in high school. So then we had a lot to talk about,
absolutely.
actually right to the start of this meeting. We were out in the hall and they were talking, so.
Good.
So it's been really good for about 10 days or so, 8-10 days. But we have a lot more scheduled. Thank you, Kim, again. Thank you. Very much deserve that, earned that vacation you're going on next week.
Oh, she's booking you out now.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I saw when I just took a look, and this is probably very old and out of date, is it feels like we're doing a lot of PR stuff that is, hey, get you out there from an internal blush, just from an introduction standpoint. But I know there's been some follow-ups probably from the prior administration around meeting and greeting, diving in a little bit to the meat. Do we have any plans to specifically engage with Ben Franklin? Whether it be staff and then possibly the families to carry on some of those discussions, so.
Yeah, I had a Ben Franklin staff member in here today, we talked about this a little bit in cabinet as well.
Okay.
We haven't really formalized that at this point, but we are having some discussions about it. I will be there first day, I've talked to the new principal there, I think he's at an excellent start, of course, he and I started the same day. But you know, he is an experienced administrator, experienced principal, and a reading expert. Which was really fun I had him in a meeting, actually I sat in a meeting that I was more listening in, but his expertise and passion, not just for the principalship, but for reading was evident and clear. So I really think that there's been a good initial start, but we'll continue to have that
Do
conversation.
you have thoughts on that, like the meet and greet? So we were thinking even during cabinet or leadership or cabinet that we thought we would let the families come back and settle in a little bit before we talked about a meet and greet.
And I'm okay with that,
Right.
because obviously there's people that have moved to Riverside at this point.
Right,
I think part of it's just whether it's keeping a pulse on it, because I don't wanna
absolutely.
lose sight. The other piece of it is staff. So one of the things that had previously been discussed was the opportunity to bring in a impartial third. Did that take place? I know we were breaking for summer right at the same time.
They decided not to do that.
Oh,
They
okay.
decided to go internally and so Dave, Amy and I,
Oh, okay.
Dave facilitated it, Amy and I just kind of were there for support.
And we took notes
Took
and
notes.
shared those with
Yeah.
Dave. And then those, if they haven't already been shared with
I think they
Mr.
were.
Rockford, they,
Yeah.
I'm guessing they have been, I
Yeah.
just didn't specifically ask
Yeah.
about that.
And I think the staff really responded to that, they really liked that, I think better than having
Perfect.
somebody else come in.
There's also,
So there's action around what they're doing.
there's also follow-up with an opportunity for written survey after that listening session. So if you weren't able to be there or didn't wanna share something with the whole group, there was an
Yeah.
opportunity for written survey information. So
And Justin we are working on a communication plan for the year.
Okay.
And he did send something out, we did an introduction to all Ben Franklin families, and in that he created a survey. You know, where would you like, I can send you guys.
I was gonna say, can you forward that to us
Yep,
or?
what he said, yeah, and he's got a pulse on it, and we have, he knows and he's going to do a monthly, from what I understand, we're gonna work on a monthly newsletter in addition to the weekly updates, yeah.
Okay.
And then on a side note, there's follow-up with some teachers, or a group of teachers are engaging in some training in August that they requested as part of that meeting, so there was some
he's
some
following up
action from that.
with plans for continued professional development through the school year, and I just talked about that yesterday. So,
Perfect.
and talked about just the informal communication and helping everybody keep a pulse on, so I think we're on a really good path.
I just with transition, I know
Yeah.
that one too,
Yeah.
and going back to the beginning of the
Yeah,
school
it's
year.
important.
I
Not
just
to get
remember
lost
that.
at all.
Thank you all, so like, now I don't have to worry about it at sleeping.
Well, and I have a Ben Franklin folder on my desk, so I'm read in on as much as I think I am possibly read in on. But I'm happy to meet with the staff myself as much as is necessary before school starts, and to Justin is as well. And he knows that I've offered my direct support, I'll be there first day, for certain. And any day, or night, talk to parents.
I don't wanna speak on behalf of parents, cause I did not have a student that was involved,
Sure.
or my kids did come through Benda Franklin.
Yeah.
So we know many of the teachers and staff there, and I think the biggest ask for them is transparency. And so one of the items we'll get to,
Yeah.
which is one of our next topics, is around the communication. And so I think as long as we can focus on, hey, what's our approach there, I think we'll be in really good shape, so here's the plan. Thank you all.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions on the 100-day plan? I guess the only thing I'd say next is, and I don't know what this is, I put it as a question mark, is if there's anything intentional, and I guess I put like Ben Franklin in the intentionality, is there any other like hot topics or excitement areas that we want to reinforce and be able to, part of me was like, do you wanna go to Allie's and have coffee with people? But at some point, like you're kind of I don't wanna say done with, but this first wave, we've maxed out the community exercise. But then is there like changes that we're introducing that we then say, okay, let's go and take a pulse of the community, that this would be a steady beat at some point. I just don't know what those future topics are, as we've not had a chance to come together, set our strategic objectives. I just wanna make sure, hey, that's on the radar. There's been a thirst, a built up hunger to be able to have somebody. Our interim superintendent wasn't in a position to necessarily drive policy or drive direction, so people were hungry to be able to have that connection. So I just don't wanna lose sight of that once we get through this initial welcome period.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that is an initial welcome period, but part of the, which I'll be bringing to the board at some point, maybe this next meeting, the plan that's refined and a little bit more targets, and here's how we're gonna not just do the initial welcome, but follow up with systems where there's a regular system, a regular place to meet and talk to me, and to have these sorts of engagements on a regular basis, because there's something that I welcome, maybe not in the same way that we did at, at the one place, but at the different coffee areas or wherever people wanna meet, even in houses or whatever, churches, it doesn't matter where, to have the conversation and to continue to have that open dialogue. Cause I think we've had a good start that way, but now it's about setting up systems beyond the start. And that's what that plan will help us do. But I'll make sure that's key work for myself and the board, to monitor that work through that plan.
Thank you.
Yes.
Alright, I'm off the 100-day plan now. Open records. That is you, but take your notes, no rush.
Thank you. So I did share the Google Doc with you guys, with the board on this team, so that you can see the open record requests that we received for this new fiscal school year. So we're 27 days into the school year, and we have 3 open record requests. We just got one in today that was added. So our year-to-date total is 3 requests. We have 2 that are open or pending and 1 that is closed. And then ending our school year from last year, the 22-23 school year, we had a total of 71 requests. And we do have 25 that are still open and or pending. And that might be a smaller number, because there's some that the attorneys were fulfilling that I might not have known that they answered it, so I just have to follow up and make sure that we got where we are on tracking them to make sure that we're up to speed. But I think we're moving at a good pace, but that is still a lot of requests for a 1 year school year.
So for the old requests are the ones that are open. I know there might have been a few from, or a lot from one person. Has anybody reached out to that person to clarify or narrow down what they might be looking for?
There were conversations, I think, that were, I wasn't part of these
Okay.
conversations,
Okay.
so I think things are in the works, I
Okay.
just don't have the details.
Alright, I just wanted to see if it was being followed up on. I think we had kind of touched on that last meeting, that maybe we could send out like an estimate on the cost, if some things might require more research and more cost, if that's been handled too.
I can follow up on that.
Yeah, we've looked into it.
Okay.
We've talked about
Okay.
it, meaning we know that there's quite a bit, and we've talked about the overtime that's likely gonna be needed to fill the back requests, and then also some processes to try to get to 0 and then have a fresh start.
Right.
Because there are quite a few, that, large requests and that are,
But that person would probably require a fee, correct? Or you don't know?
Or is that
Like
something
it's
that
like you're hiring
you-
somebody,
Yeah, but I
so-
think maybe if she's
So
putting
you
the
need to
request
notify
in,
her.
It's more-
you
yeah,
have to
it-
notify before.
yeah, it's more about the time. Once you look at all the requests and the fee comes in if it gets, you have to parcel through if there's redactions, and I don't
Right.
know about each individual situation, but it's quite a bit of work, and part of it is maybe clarification, like you say. I mean, there's some of that's possible, but we'll continue to work on it. I've talked to both Kim and Leah about it, so some ideas about how to get us to 0. so that we can start fresh with it
Right.
and
The first $50 is free,
Right,
so, you know,
but then you notify them if it will,
and so
there'll
then
be a
you're
fee.
trying to calculate, you know, what you think the cost would be after 50. I think one of the problems is that sometimes you just don't know, like until you actually do it.
Right. You send an estimate, like it would be an estimate, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you try to send an estimate, but like I said, sometimes some are easier than others, like I had to send out certified letters to all of the people who were connected to an open records request. So I knew how much the postage cost, so I could do that times all of that, and then that was clearly adding up in time, so some are easier like that, others it's like search for all these emails, like you don't know how many there are, you know, how long it's gonna take to look at, so you try to do your best job estimating it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the problem. Some of them are very complex and convoluted. And we're not really staffed for 71 open records requests.
Well, I think remember we talked about like, if you don't necessarily have like a straight up record on that, there's, you know, argument for not filling it, right?
Yeah.
Or-
we don't have to create a record, just
Right,
We have to
right,
create a
exactly.
record.
just to produce a record that
Mhm.
is public.
Databases kind of
Are the guy.
are the things that have changed the landscape.
Yeah.
So if you
Sure.
ask me for something that I can pull a report on,
Mm-hmm,
probably have to pull the report, even though I don't have it,
gotcha,
you know, like I didn't pull a report on it,
yeah,
but I can, so I should.
yeah,
So I think we're gonna get through 'em.
We've been legally advised to that end, so
Yeah.
in some cases, there's no record. But we do have access to reports if you click and hit.
Yeah.
I mean, the reports are there,
you're right,
so then
It
we've
can
been,
be at a
we've
few
been legally
clicks.
advised that that is a record.
Yeah.
So that we do have to click the report.
okay,
Provide better
gotcha,
Because, you know, 20 years ago, you probably had a report,
yeah,
like you were keeping a spreadsheet
yeah,
or a paper log.
yeah,
And then technology has become such where I don't do that anymore, but anytime I want it, I can hit report and I get my report.
Right,
And so that's kind of, technology has kind of supplanted
right,
that idea of, there are cases in which I would say you're technically creating a report,
but
but
it's still out there.
but it's like a click report.
Yeah, it's at your fingertips, basically.
Mhm. So,
Well, 25 open.
we're working through it,
Yeah.
it's going to happen.
Good.
Leah and Amy were here to talk about, I forgot to mention that in our,
Communication.
communication
okay, great.
report, yeah.
I
So
told them they didn't have to be, but that's all right, I'm glad they're here, we'll talk.
Yeah. about the onboarding.
Well, we have the next meeting, so we're
You
here.
don't need to go. Oh, super, well, that's awesome then. There, I would love Leah's input and your input also on our next topic, so any other questions on the rest?
Nope.
Alright, super. Our next topic is a communication policy draft. So essentially where I'm at with this is, everybody knows that I like Amy, have a communication background. I think all of us felt as we were getting, the information coming out of Ben Franklin, that communication was a crux of needing to be improved. And I think where we stem from, and Mr. Munoz would love your opinion into this, is helping understand what goes into a guide for families, like we talked about that one pager, what goes into a policy for our handbook from a board and district standpoint, and maybe if anything, does anything go into an employee handbook? And so I keep looking at this through different lenses, being able to say, I don't, and I know that you've provided samples and it works, I just don't know with the situation that we have, truly honestly, it's complex and I don't wanna over-engineer a policy to support it. I don't know if new leadership has a thought into it. And part of me is not feeling necessarily the urgency right now because I care about getting it right more than I care about just checking a box and putting a policy out there. So what I opened for today is to just be able to have an open conversation around, maybe at a very strategic level, knowing what we know the mishaps in in communication were, how do we collectively think the best approach is, and then maybe get after it that way.
So my read of the situation, and I'll just give you my general 30,000 foot view, is there was some less than good communication, was part of the issue. And thank you for just sending me the Ben Franklin, what was communicated out to parents. But, so, do we need a policy? Probably not, but maybe an administrative rule. So now that we have WASB on board, I mean, there's a whole list of what's called administrative rules, which can be linked to policy, right? So these administrative rules, and other people call them, Neola calls them something else than WASB, but essentially they're linked to policy, and I can adjust them as we go to make sure that maybe there's a folder that goes home, or, I mean, I'm not suggesting a solution, but, or email, or newsletter, or some sort of regular communication loop that is common, not just at one school, but all, like, I would more think about all. Like, what would be great for Ben Franklin may already be being done in another elementary school. So it's more about looking at systems internally, which obviously I haven't seen yet in action, but, you know, we could establish that in administrative rule, in rules, because usually companies like Neola or WASB Policy Services has your bank of policies, and then under each, they have possible administrative rules, which you can adjust. And they're similar to policies because an administrator has a way to point at something and say, no, this is what we do. It says it right here. It's not a policy, but it's linked to the policy, and this is our system. Just so there's more clarity. Like, policies are meant to be a little bit broader, a little bit all encompassing, and the administrative rules, or, you know, there's other names for them, that's my terminology, but they're under policies, and I found them very effective as a way to make sure that it's like the working arm of a policy.
And I feel like that's the problem we were trying to solve, is I kept floating between policy and procedure, and I didn't wanna get granular, that's not our rule, that's not where we live. And so, but part of me also found accountability for our families that belong to the district to make sure that we had the right checks and balances, cause we had some things where flags weren't going off, and so I wanna be mindful of, is it something that we build into some of the procedures you do, just so that we're responding to the community to say, we heard what you said, and here's the following action from a communication standpoint, to make sure that they feel that we took the right action, so.
And what I'd say that is procedures would be over there, this would be policy, and these would be administrative rules, right? That procedures would be, that would be what principals and teachers and, you know, but these administrative rules, we would all as administrators be able to point to, and the board, saying, yeah, we have these policies, but look, there's this rule right here where it's really clear, you know, the administrators, Munoz, whoever wrote it up, and it's really clear about what should be done, say for example, at the elementary level. So, you know, I've, you know, worked primarily, you know, I've worked in all the levels now that I've been a superintendent for multiple years, but I taught in the middle school and the high school. The communication loop is a little bit different. You know, you don't, you know, there's probably not gonna be a folder in the high school going home, right? You know, I'm not saying you can't do that,
Just not.
but it's not something that I've ever seen or when I was a principal, but there's other things that you definitely wanna be doing at the high school level that's different than the elementary level. So then you differentiate that in a rule and not have to necessarily jump into policy. But you can still point to it, publicize it, make it public, and establish that. And then I think you're getting at, but the procedures, I mean, it's over here, those are important too. You know, what's actually happening, and then the accountability is, if you're not doing it, no, it's right here. It says, where this is the rule that you follow, not the policy, but the rule linked to policy. And that's what I've seen, that
Creates consistency and accountability.
yeah, because you can look at it, you can point at it, and any administrator, any principal can say, no, it's right here. You know, but
and I know how you're bringing up me in particular in my area,
But you're one and you're a critical part of.
Right, and so, and I'm, you know, as I'm thinking of some of the instances and some of the situations that happened, just, I think we have to really be mindful too of a really good conversation about what we communicate, but also in a way that is not, that we
Doesn't
are giving,
divulge.
exactly, information about students that kind of, you know, we want parents to be knowledgeable and informed, but yet not be stamping on the rights of someone's privacy, right? And so like, how do we do that and so that everybody has what they need, yeah. So, I think it's a really good conversation, and I think it's, like you said, it's not gonna be an easy one, it's, I think, it's gotta be done right,
Correct.
so.
Agreed, and I don't wanna rush it before, I think our original intentions were, let's be responsive, let's get something in so we can train to it at the beginning of the school year, but thinking about it and knowing, hey, we need to get this right. Then the question I have for you, the policy is that something you want us to take a stab at, or do you from policy wanna look at the administrative rule and want to be and consider it?
Oh, I mean,
Yeah, I'm actually looking at it right now.
Perfect.
I mean, anything that is connected, I feel like administrative rules always have a policy that they're connected to, and we don't really use that feature here right now.
Okay.
But we'd have to make a policy that then something could be attached to, and it can be one of those little short ones, you know, it doesn't have to be long, but we do need to have a policy. And so, in our policy committee, we felt that any new or significant revisions, we're gonna go through committee, it's committee first, and then it'll come to us.
Okay.
I mean, I was also thinking about my past too, where we had school staff manuals, and so the employee handbook is usually broader, it covers like every type of employee group. And then the school staff manuals got really specific to like teachers and EAs. So it was classroom supervision, hallway supervision, lunchroom duty, recess, lesson plans, parent communications, FERPA, all the special ed stuff that every teacher needs to know. Anything that you can think of that isn't all the employees, the teachers and EAs and maybe other school-based staff went into the school staff manual, and then I could see 3 of them. Elementary, well actually maybe even 2, elementary and secondary. There each school had their own, I don't know if we needed to go that far out, but it was a really great place, and sometimes I miss having it to point to, where we literally set our expectations as a district for every component of school, really. And it wasn't harsh, it wasn't punitive, it's pretty much what everybody's already doing anyway, it's just really codifying it. So I was actually thinking of bringing that forward.
Correct, and it was always, as I think about the same thing, I hadn't thought about it in those terms, but yes, I always had a staff handbook, and then we would hit some highlights at the beginning of the year, and everybody had it, it was a good place to refer to if there were conflicts or questions, or somebody wasn't doing what was
We
expected.
don't have those today?
We don't have those here, so I mean, I was thinking, I'm thinking maybe I'll attach it to our next cabinet meeting,
Okay.
so the administration can take a look at it. It might be a good thing instead of a policy or administrative rule, because it would cover all kinds of things, not just communication, but obviously how we communicate would be a component in there, and then we could bring it here. We could bring it to probably a few places, but we could bring it here to kind of say, this isn't necessarily communication, but like, this is a document that covers all of these things, communication is a subcomponent in here. Does this meet the needs we were trying to get at? And maybe it doesn't need to be a board policy, it can actually be a working, living document at each level.
Love that,
I do like that, yeah.
thank you.
And it is a good resource for staff too.
And I've been working to touch base with Ben Niehaus from the WASB Policy Services. We just been playing a lot of phone tag. But that'll be an important link for the committee. Now that as a district, we're using WASB Policy Services, which I think is a very good move. Because they can help not just with the policies, but also examples of administrative rules. Or some people call them AGs, administrative guidelines. So AGs are, I call them ARs, it's interchangeable education, there's acronyms, but AG is an administrative guideline or administrative rule. It's tomato, but they've always been something that I have used, not in all areas, but where there needs to be clarity and, you know, it's something to be aware of. But we can look at those things.
We're open, y'all vet, I don't wanna solve, I just care that we address it.
Yep.
And then Amy, I don't know to the extent that we can get ready either for this year or at some point when it's ready.
Yep.
What this is she gave us a sample, I think it's one of the links that is in here. But it's really a resource guide for parents where it's a one pager that shows how they escalate. So that was one of the questions that kept coming out is people didn't know how to navigate. If I contact a teacher and I don't get the answer I want, or I contact the principal and I don't hear back, what's that standard care that I'm supposed to do from an escalation standpoint? Folks weren't necessarily aware of Laura or the role she played in some of those situations, so again, I don't wanna dictate what information's on here, I would love you all as a cabinet to figure that out, but I think this would be really critical.
We talked about a chain of communication, right?
Yep.
Well,
Versus like a chain of command.
Correct,
Right,
yeah, I think in our meeting with Ben Franklin parents in particular, it was, we'll work on a chain of, it was 100% chain of communication.
Yep.
And probably something visual that
Yeah.
people could see this stuff, these are the places that I wanna start, which I think is why it's so important that they connect with Justin. You know, so because he's gonna be one of their first go-tos.
And I
in
can
that
pull,
chain.
I did one of those in another district, it was a chain of communication, basically, yeah, because it was, we actually put it into our handbook
Yeah, that's exactly what I was
for
thinking,
families,
adding it to
because
the
then
handbook.
they know if I have a problem, I start, if you have a problem, you start with, teacher, and then it just, so it gives that map. So I can draft something up and send that out to you guys.
Beautiful.
And we do have it, like, I know this isn't specific to special ed, but in special ed, we do have what's called communication options, like you're really familiar with it, Amy. And it does say like, here's who your case manager is, and then after that, here's your, your next person, your director of special ed, your director at the state level. And so that does go to all families, and we haven't been as vigilant about it. We did it last year. I'm gonna require families to do it this year, like all case managers need to send this out every time we send out, and we're sending out things from our office, so that will be another piece, so it kind of will marry well with what we're doing here.
And it's like typically parents get that at least once a year. I remember sitting in some meetings where parents like, yep,
I've had
their
this, yeah.
copy thing.
Keep it.
So can you send me a copy of that, let's link that into our student parent
Sure.
handbook, cause I believe
Do you want
there's a
one that's
section.
already filled out? I have them for every every building is gonna be a little different, right, because they're different teachers, but do you want like a blank one or?
Yeah.
Okay,
Let me, yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Awesome.
I don't know, I see like a need for stating a like a renewed commitment about communication in this district. Like something addressing like, in my mind, I would see like that brief policy, like principles of communication. I'm just tossing it out there and thinking out loud. Going through some of these sample policies,
Well,
they
and
are
I liked, there was a policy on here, I don't remember which school it is, cause it didn't come out when I printed, but it said, the communication and public engagement, just says the school board shall engage in meaningful two-way communication about issues impacting the education community through effective internal, external communications with key school board, stakeholder groups, parents, students, partners, et cetera. So to your point,
Yep.
I think there's an opportunity here to set the culture for
Right,
how we wanna communicate.
right,
That might
like
be
a
a new
standard,
one.
like a standard that I'm sorry to interrupt,
No,
but
no, no,
like
no.
maybe like that, we can aspire to.
Yep.
And then like, some of these policies kind of like break it down into district level, school level. I'm just going over my notes that I made on it, teacher level, parent level. But I mean, if we do that, then it's, or like inserting that administrative rule in there. I mean, I almost see it all, like that statement, the administrative rule, and put it in and do a staff manual, break it down at that level.
I mean, I think you could kind of put it out there as like something exciting, right? Like we've added so much, check this out, and have that be part of what, the community sees as a response. That's gonna be overall, this is kind of we have a great plan going forward and this is what you can expect.
And I was just gonna say one other place you will see that, and David and I haven't even gotten a chance to talk to about district scorecard and continuous improvement process yet, cause this is my
Yeah.
third day with him, so. Or fourth day with him, so, but one of the things that is in the draft, and I imagine will stay there, that you will see once it's finished, we'll talk about it more later on this month as a leadership team, is a statement around communication plans per school.
Yeah.
And so that'll be just another layer of we've committed to that as a staff, and as schools for more communication, both classroom, again, looks a little bit different in elementary versus secondary, plus principal communication to staff. So
I like
just
that.
another layer of that
Yeah.
you guys haven't had a chance to see yet, but I
Right.
wanted you to know.
Yeah, I think this is great, like how parents need to know how to reach out, but I just wanted to be impressed upon them, our commitment to communication, because it is a two-way street, and that's why I almost like, that should almost be inserted in there a little bit too, I feel like, we will aspire to this, and this in this building, or, and it's personalized per building or something like that.
Maybe you had talked a little bit about a communication plan.
Yeah, and I was just-
develop, I think that's really
As you're
well.
talking,
Okay, yeah,
and I'm listening and I'm
I know.
like, we have all those, so it's
I know.
really us promoting our communication
Yeah.
plan, because it's a
Exactly.
pretty comprehensive, like, these are our
Right,
stakeholders,
it's
this is
district level,
why.
it's building, and yet we
So
can make it more
we have it,
specific.
we just don't launch it, because.
Yeah, it needs to be more,
We will.
As
we're
doing it on site.
We will show you.
user friendly.
Right,
Or
yeah,
promote it.
yeah, cause it does, it's, I don't know how many pages, but yeah, and we do talk about all of our platforms and all of the avenues we communicate, and but the thing that's missing here though is that chain of communication, if you have
Yeah,
an
true,
issue, who do you contact
true.
first?
Yours is the fun stuff.
Yeah.
The other stuff
Yes,
is a little
She gets to
sticky.
do unfun stuff.
Yeah,
So she does.
I
I'm so sorry, I just assumed it was all fun.
But I mean, obviously,
No.
probably the biggest focus is the building level.
Correct.
Right, yeah, and I think that's where the renewed effort at least for the discussion that we had around scorecards
Yeah.
is
True.
that proactive, and I think we started this conversation really talking about incidents, but this is also proactive, just
Yep.
regular ongoing communication,
If
my
Friday
Friday
had been
newsletter.
happening, maybe it wouldn't have been an incident,
Correct.
so.
Yeah.
You know, as an elementary principal, and I was very used to every Friday, the Thursday, or whatever day teachers decided, once a week, parents got a little something about what was going on in the classroom. And it didn't have to be pretty fancy, anything could be an email, but just that communication, I think that regular ongoing communication is really important. And I think that's happening in some places in our district, but I don't think it's happening everywhere consistently.
When I think like those that you gave us like the comments from the communication survey, I mean, some of that, like the feedback on there was like golden, like all the little, I forgot the packet, I had it with me, but is golden. And it just can really help guide some of that too, so,
So you know, I like to consolidate policies. So 810 is school and community relations goals,
okay.
820 is public information program, and 822 is newsletters. So I think if we do create a communication policy, we could probably take a look at all those other policies where we communicate. Now it's different, some is community, some is staff, some is students. But I think if we do create a policy, I would love us to create one communication policy that incorporates all of our different stakeholders
Yep.
into it.
Yeah.
And then we have one place where we look and that's how we communicate.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have 5 policies
No.
on how we
No.
communicate. It's one of my goals, Mr. Munoz, is to get us consolidated.
Yeah, I'm logged in right now, looking at them, so.
So I don't think any one of them is specifically on point, but all 3,
What are they,
Touch.
810, 820?
810, 820, and 822. So no one by itself is on
Right.
point,
Right.
but all of them taken as a whole, I think could be worded better into a communication policy, so.
Perfect.
Okay.
And I haven't looked at WASB's templates yet for that, but I think we already have some stuff out there. It's just so parsed.
Sure,
Yeah.
and then again,
Yeah.
broadcasting that of what we already have.
Oh, you do?
I think so.
I like it.
Yeah, Neola, because I worked with Neola for 4 years, so
That sounds familiar.
they have the policies out there and then they have all these possible administrative guidelines.
Mhm.
And then you can adjust them And then their lawyer bank would say, okay, you can adjust this far, you can adjust that far, and still be within their, and WSB does the same thing. To me, like I said, tomato.
Well, it was either Broward County Public Schools or Palm Beach. One of the two I couldn't open, and one of them I was able to print, and
Right.
North
I
Cliff,
know,
I was able to print out.
yeah, that one.
So it's one of those two must take it and lift it from,
They're very specific, it's our website, so there's a board.
So maybe if you want more consideration, we can find somebody in WASB first,
That's more
Cause then I'd love,
almost like.
as part of my policy
Yeah, that
work
is-
to
could be
tax
procedure.
the three to get them into your one. I love that.
I might not be like anybody else.
Putting that in the minutes.
You can put love, LOV.
I love that.
do we,
Big heart
do we need, in order to do that, do we wanna bring it to a committee level and work through that, or do we wanna set up a separate working session to be able to dive through? I feel like a working session focused on this might be the most efficient way to just rock it out.
Sure. I think you could do either. I mean, I feel like my library policy meetings felt work session-y, like
Yeah.
they were inside a meeting.
Sure,
Committee, what do you think?
sure, I like it.
I mean, really,
You don't get to say I
Oh,
like
work
it.
I mean, really,
work
your-
session or committee meeting,
really
you're
your
kind of
committee
like,
work,
well, I think like
technically
something
is,
yeah,
I know.
like
But I
dedicated
feel like
just to
there's so
that
many other
topic.
things that we run through that do we actually get the time to get to the meeting stuff?
Yeah, so,
I guess that's my fear, is if we look at the stuff you send us,
Yeah.
plus the stuff that we have, if we dedicate our time specifically to that, we could probably make a lot more progress instead of it hanging around, so.
Okay, so you're suggesting a work session to just
separate
get
public
it done.
committee meeting.
I'm good, yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm good with
yeah,
that.
I mean, dedicated to, like, it's just helpful to have it, so
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just saying, you
one
can
topic-
technically do it in your
One topic,
meeting, you don't have to.
Perfect, we were doing technicality, I love it. Then I'll make it a
You
long
wanna
meeting,
save
let's not
time.
do that. Alright,
If it's
super,
at 7 AM, I probably won't be there.
She's honest.
for sure, no, not 7 AM.
I'll do all the work.
I mean, if it was, I'd bring coffee and bagels.
I can do 7 AM, that's great.
Looks like you found your guy. He'll leave it for you.
Alright, so then, any other topics on communication that policy? I really appreciate the discussion and our extra folks here. I just, it's one of those things where you keep reviewing what other people have and think about the situation that was confronting us. It gets to be complex, and I don't know that I wanna just put it all in a policy, because I think we actually have to crack this nut on multiple levels, and it sounds like you all are owning that as well, so very much appreciative for the work that's been done already. Alright, any future agenda items?
I think we have our hands full coming up.
Well,
I think
I'm just
What I
saying.
wanna throw out there is, would you like me to bring my 100-day plan to this committee or to the
Sure.
whole board?
Oh.
I'm happy to bring it here, because, I mean, it has, as long as we do it in committee, we can run it through consent or pull it out at the regular
Let's
meeting.
do it here, only because I think it would be important to review it with your eyes and be
Okay.
able to say, what can we share with our families and our community
So,
off of what's happening.
so let's put that on the future agenda. So,
Mhm.
so the document that I shared when I initially got here,
Mhm.
I'm gonna put some meat into it, show what's
Yeah.
done and show what systems. And then
Little
eventually,
progress, like how many hands have you shaken? How many photos have you taken?
Babies have you kept?
Hundreds.
Babies, yeah.
But I'd love to be able to say, has met with,
hands is hundreds, and I'm happy to do it. Like I said,
but it shows your
actually-
impact right off the bat.
I
which is
actually
huge.
enjoy that part of it a great deal.
Yeah, it'd be great.
But also talking to the teachers, I would probably still be talking band if we didn't have a meeting, so we were having a wonderful discussion about band and scheduling. And and clearly it's, yeah, I know,
It's a hot topic.
I bumped into
In the
it.
same sentence.
That's what was going on.
Tell 'em.
That I know now, because I was
Yeah.
just,
You're like, oh, walked into that one.
No, I didn't. It was fine. It was-
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
well, it was a good discussion, and
Yeah, it was.
and I told, and I,
Well, it all worked out, I think, pretty well.
Overall, yeah.
I mean, it worked out, but don't tell me that the band families aren't sad that they can't have both. I think they're
Yeah.
anxious, they wanted to be able to have music every day, and we just.
Yeah,
We don't have enough
Creative.
days in the week.
Yeah.
So-
Be creative with Star Time, that was, and again, that's something new that is gonna take
Well,
time to,
I
how
mean,
are we gonna use it?
I mean, I heard of parents who were adamant against it, but once they heard Terry's plan, watched the video, they were on board.
Right.
So,
So,
I
yeah.
mean, I think that says a lot. know.
Everybody worked hard on that, and I think we're in a good place.
But yeah, I think the discussions are good, I'm open to
Yeah.
having them, even if it's, like, you know, clearly she had a lot of passion about it, and it helped that I was a band guy for a lot of years.
Well, and I think part of it where we settled was, as a board, is let's offer more opportunities. I think we talked, I know you and I, last year at basketball games have been there. Is there an opportunity for like a spirit band or something similar where you can give these
Exactly.
kids the opportunity to play and be involved, but
Yeah.
maybe it's not in a classroom.
Yeah.
And then there's talks of, hey, is there an opportunity, I know I remember seeing the email last year during the holiday season.
They wanted them
Do you
to
want
like
the
come
bands
to
to be at
meetings and
any
stuff.
activities in the
Yeah.
community or
That'd be great,
activities
like
here?
Christmas music.
Like, is there
Holiday
a
music.
creative way to get music infused into more of our activities that isn't an actual
Yeah,
classroom?
one thing I saw out in Eau Claire, and Grant was college, but it's amazing, they filled, it was hundreds of band students. They have this marching band thing that is such a culture there, that it takes over the football game.
Oh, they're there for the band.
Like, go, I don't know how good their team is, that's not my thing, but they weren't that good, and my son's team beat them, but the band, I'd go just to watch the band, cause they filled this whole side, and it was like culturally this thing. So that's an example, but
Absolutely.
college, but still,
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Alright, so we'll do your 100-day plan.
somebody can't snag.
Does it make sense to add a check-in under policy for our next topic,
Will we
our next meeting?
have met about it?
Alright, let's just put that one to the side then. Alright, let's set our
Oh,
next meeting. Well, first, let's set our working meeting.
Yes,
Amy, do you wanna take the lead at picking a night with all the activities that you've got going on that you might work?
What is the,
Time frame.
yeah, what's the goal end date for this? How many meetings do you think we're, like in the next month, do you think we're going, is that what you're doing? Next month?
Let's do a month, like sometime
Okay.
next month, if we can make it work, schedules work, just to be able to get together.
and I think that we have enough already kind of established. Hopefully, we can do this in one meeting,
That is my
and
goal.
that's the work session, you know,
That's what I
let's
was
focus
hoping.
on
And
that.
then get a draft
What we
on,
have existing and
Yeah.
and just say, okay, this is, you know, combine what we're gonna do.
I mean, if you like it out of your work session, it can come right to policy then.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to go to communication committee.
Yeah.
If your work session is your committee, it can
Okay.
come right to policy.
alright,
Okay.
super.
Yeah, so you wanna do, well, what do we usually do on the third Thursday? Do you wanna do the next week, next month, third Thursday?
That's our
Well,
back
the
to school
17th
fair.
is the back to school
Okay,
fair.
so
we can go out.
I'm be here.
Hold on, time
Your
out.
policy at 5:30.
You might need a little time to come.
Well, we don't want communication.
I don't
No.
know, on the Wednesdays the day before, do you wanna do it? Well, we really don't have to wait any time, so we could do it in like do you wanna do it in 2 weeks?
We could do the 10th. You're out the 10th?
No, I said, what about the 10th?
I can do the 10th.
I cannot do the 10th. And I think that when we tried to schedule the last communications meeting, this is kind of the same pattern that we went
Oh.
down.
What about the 15th?
I might cruise from like the 9th.
Oh, wow, dial in.
Okay, yeah.
So the 15th.
If I were anywhere else, I might, but
What about then the week of the
Based on the level we're going to, I'm not gonna put you as critical because I think that
No, it
you cover
really
your
is.
stuff from
Yeah.
yours. I,
24th and
your
25th.
important is important, I like the things that you're already
Is it
changing,
something
so
that we
we'll call
could
those out.
do?
I'm gonna promote what we're doing.
21st,
So, yeah.
22nd?
I'm doing the 21st, 22nd.
You're here the 21st, you wanna do the 22nd?
22nd works.
I just have to look quick.
22nd.
Yeah. Tuesday,
I am available 22nd.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
4:30, 5, 4.
Let's do 4 to 5.
4 to 5.
Okay, 45. That works?
Or 5.
You're throwing that
1
on the calendar,
hour.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
We're gonna bust our tails
We'll
and make
have
it
like-
stick to an hour.
We're coming in with great ideas and we're just gonna,
You'll give us all the pre-read stuff to look at and
So I
we've
think
got-
we're gonna meet before
True.
that,
Yes.
and we're gonna get some examples together, we're gonna
Yeah.
get some drafts
Yep.
together. I think I'm also gonna bring my my handbook manual idea, you know, that can, we can have a policy on that.
We could probably give feedback
you
too
an
behind the scenes if you need it.
Is this the beginning?
I don't know, sometimes that helps.
I'm just
Get it
gonna
from
tell
the
you, no matter
investor.
how much time you give me, I'm always gonna be doing it at the last minute.
Okay,
So, I'm
I
just
just
gonna, I'm not
wanna
even
be
gonna lie that
respectful of
if you gave me another week, I wouldn't just push it off. I've been totally honest and I don't do
Yeah.
7 AM and I am a natural born
Sometimes it depends on your
procrastinator.
What is
How much
wrong with
energy you
7 a.m.?
But I have successfully made it through most of my life as a
Yes.
procrastinator,
So why change what's
So-
working?
I've never changed. There is absolutely nothing wrong with 7 AM,
Especially if.
but I'd rather be here at 7
5.
PM than 7 AM.
Jeez.
If you really need 7 AM, I will be here.
Maybe you can flex your hours.
But I will be less
later.
If we're doing that working meeting on the 22nd, do we feel we need a committee meeting? We both know. Can we just roll to September for that?
Oh, yeah.
Alright,
Well,
super.
if we really get it done, then our next policy meeting isn't until September 28th. So you could always probably have one
Bring
more
it back
crack
for
at
a
it,
revision of the draft.
you know, if you
True.
needed it.
There's two
you'll-
people over on policy, I mean,
We'll
meetings
miss- I was
gonna say,
about
we'll
that far.
just-
What the?
Or we'll just manhandle it.
We'll just manhandle
The
it.
policy.
You
Well,
said,
we're just,
Leah, when's your
policy
next
is
policy
meeting a
meeting?
little early, well,
September
it's
28th.
meeting August 17th in August and then September 28th.
Okay.
So I think that buys you a committee meeting too, in case you wanna do a couple
Perfect.
more tweaks.
Right.
Then you can still make the September 28th policy meeting.
Yep.
And then we, as a policy committee, should not bog it down, it can go to the board in October.
That's good. It's not too far into the.
No, I like
year,
it.
you know, still be, you wanna,
We're
Cause
still
you
do
know, you're
thoughtful
be
about it.
announcing that it's
Yeah, we're
coming, look for
doing the
this,
things
I mean,
we're gonna do,
October
Yeah.
it's timing,
Yeah.
yeah, it's good.
Start of school is
I
all
think so,
September.
Yeah.
cause you know what, there's so much going on as a parent,
Yeah.
Yeah, between
that once
now
you're
and then.
settled in,
Yeah.
it's nice to see that, like
Yeah.
something.
And if we really
Fresh.
wanted early October, I mean, we could fast track it as discussion and action at a board meeting, just because it's already gone through the
Yeah.
2 policies, which is like a lot of you.
Yeah.
So it might, since it's already gonna have maybe 3 reads,
Mm-hmm,
it might not need a whole more cycle,
True.
you
I
know,
hear you,
so.
I like it.
sounds good,
Alright, and then committee meeting, do we wanna set our next committee meeting,
sure.
September 14th, about 5, does that work?
I just gotta keep it coming. 14:45, sure, works for me. Whatever you say.
And we're gonna be brief, because I got a 5:30 football game to get to at the high school.
I cannot do that date,
Huh?
but if you
I
guys
don't have a date for the Cornrows, but you know,
and
April,
wanna meet
August
without
7th,
me, I'm
9th
fine with that
is
You can always
too.
email
And I
questions.
can-
let me know.
Exactly.
Alright, so August 9th is the community night at the field.
Okay,
So that is head coach trying to get people engaged. I don't see a date for Cornrows yet.
Okay, but the August 9th, okay, I'll get hold of them.
Okay, perfect.
So Sarah can't make it on the 14th, but she's cool with us going ahead.
Alright, super.
Is typically that Thursday available?
Yeah. I just have my 2 nieces that
Oh,
that
that's
week
right,
or whatever,
that's
I
right.
I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like we've talked through
Yeah.
this schedule a little bit, but it's, yeah.
What time did you say? 4?
Don't judge.
4 to 5 is what,
4 to 5.
Somebody doesn't have to wear glasses, like me, spectacle.
I don't have to wear glasses then.
Are you being ageist?
A little bit. It is a
I
little
could
bit.
share a funny
Alright,
story if we
super.
weren't like.
I was gonna say, alright, so we got our next 2 meetings scheduled. Alright, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
Excellent. 5:10. We are adjourned.
We're gonna shut the video off for right now.
Yeah. Yes, please.
But just about the size of my font, I keep it that large, just so I don't